I need Rachel. Welcome to the October 12th Solid Waste Committee. Solid Waste is a subcommittee to the Engineering and Planning Committee and Public Works, of course. So tonight is our last technology review of a potential partnership, and Waste Management is our guest tonight. We have chatted with Waste Management a time or two, and they are back for the final round. So what we're going to do is we will invite them up to present if they, excuse me, if they'd like. And I'm going to let you tell us whether you want to take questions as we go, or if you want to wait till after you're finished. But go ahead and come on up and introduce yourselves. I will remind you to please speak into the microphone because you, thank you, Rachel, are being recorded. And don't feel bad about turning your back on these three, because we want you to speak. How you doing? We want you to speak to the audience out in TV land. So how are you, Don? Good to see you.
Okay, I'm going to kick off. My name is Rob Owen, and I represent Waste Management. I work in the public sector, which is our government contracting group. Don Cole, we work together here in Middle Tennessee. Dwight Robinson here is our area sales director. He manages all of our sales operations across a 3-state area. Dwight grew up in Middle Tennessee, lives here, went to school here, so just kind of a little local flavor. You know, our preference, I can go through and we can talk about the 6 different areas. I mean, we gave proposals on each, with the exception of digging up the landfill, which we're just not in a position to do that. But anything else, we'd love to chat and discuss. You know, when we came the last time, you know, y'all have got some real significant decisions to make. And we'd like to be part of that to whatever extent and degree. You know, we kind of talked about a vendor or a partner or a consultant. And I'll throw it open for questions. If there's anything specifically y'all want to discuss, talk about, ask, go ahead.
Mayor, go ahead.
Rob, this concludes our second round, I guess, if you will, of the 9 proposals on the RFP process. We're kind of glad that it's coming to an end through the RFI and now the RFP, and glad it's finally here, and we certainly appreciate your all's patience with us. This is a big decision for Rutherford County to make, but however, I'm sure it will be a long-lasting effect that what decision we do make. I've noticed in comments from our other commissioners that there was interest in Pratt company that we have talked to, because all they don't do trash, they do recycling. It's my understanding that, or from talking to the other commissioners, there's some interest in maybe a P3, you know, the partnership of maybe a Pratt in a waste management type situation. Can you expand on that? Yeah, if there's willing to work in that direction?
Yeah, Pratt's actually a partner with us, and we feed them. Pratt makes cardboard, right? I mean, they're in the recycling business to feed. Primarily, they make OCC, right? I mean, they make cardboard. They're kind of unique in that they've built a lot of their mills around taking post-consumer recycling. So they've kind of had a different approach from West Rock, and which West Rock is Rock 10, but again, their primary goal is to make cardboard, okay? And so we service them, we sell them products and materials. I know we've got relationships all over the country with them. That's something, we've got people within the company that would discuss that. I think the critical piece, and Dwight and I were talking about it earlier, the reality of whoever it is, we've got to build up enough material to get everybody's interest. So I'll try to give you a perspective. We service Spring Hill, and we do single stream recycling, and we got about a 70% participation rate. All right, but it's a tight, small, houses are close together. It's a city setting. We get about 2,000 tons a year. That's what we collect. And again, it's about 16,000 houses, ballpark. So obviously, whether it's us or somebody else, we're going to have to build a collection process to attract the material to get anybody to build, right? I mean, I know they've got a facility up in Nashville. I don't think it's the scope or size of our River Hills, but again, I understand long-term it would make sense. And they've got some huge facilities.
And they were talking about building a larger facility in Kentucky, which would be closer. There's also, they do a lot of plastic and talking with John, I talked with him today at Pratt, he called. They want to send a surveyor down to look at our 20 acres we have down in the Florence area, which is right across the road from the city's mulching facility. So they're possibly interested in locating a MRF. That was in their proposal. But I think there again, there's going to have to be enough waste stream coming in to warrant the expenditure of building a MRF. And of course, it's right there off of 840. I said, well, if we were to throw out to you closing Florence Road and putting a railroad spur right there on the roadbed for Florence, they're very much interested in that because they do a lot of plastics and send the plastic after they chop it back to the carpet mills in Dalton, Georgia. So they have an end product for that. So I think we're beginning to get a handle on who does what and what could be done during this process. But I think in your opinion, is there enough waste stream for recycling to just come out of Rutherford County? Or would it take that 60% waste stream coming out of Metro as well?
Well, I think the more you have, the lower your cost structure is going to be, right? I mean, that goes without saying. I would think, and I'm going to get Dwight to come in here. I mean, right now, today as it sits, we would have to build out some collection activities to get
transfer stations.
Well, we've got to go get material. I mean, we've got to go, whether it's single stream or whether, I guess first and foremost, I would, and come here, Dwight, because I'm getting past I'm getting over my skis, because Dwight's got a lot more expertise from a collection perspective. But, sure. I mean, the first thing we would try to do is to build more material. Now, you can do that through a single stream process, in a residential setting. I would say out in the unincorporated areas, that would be pretty difficult just because of the distance and the gap in between. I mean, obviously, you would hope to get some of the cities involved, but that would drive material. Go ahead.
I think that we're to the conclusion that we're going to have to bring the cities in and everybody participate in Rutherford County if we don't want everybody else's trash coming here. And it's going to take a commitment by the other 4 municipalities of curbside recycling. If you go into rural areas, then you'd probably have to limit yourself, like in Rockvale, if it's a subdivision with anything over 25 houses or more, then you could possibly do curbside, but when you got half a mile between driveways, that's not going to work.
Right.
There is no curb. Correct.
You'll need some density and some type of mandates to up the
Yes, sir. And the mandates would have to come through the local governments, engaging every citizen in Rutherford County to participate. Otherwise, you're not going to get the feedstock to
If you
warrant
can
the
drive the cost down
expenditure.
enough, then you can start, if you drive the cost down enough when you're bringing material in on the residential side, then you can start motivating your industrial and your commercial to bring into the program as well, because you're going to want a good mix of all instead of just a single stream, but you've got to get enough volume coming in, kind of like, almost like a guaranteed stream that you can get a baseline on, and then you can start growing upon that, because, again, once the landfill goes away and just call it like it is, the cost of disposing of trash is going to go up. I mean, right now it's tough to be free, and even the industrial commercial stuff that are third-party haulers and open market, there's still a rate that they're paying, and that rate will go up once it goes from direct haul to transfer and disposal. So, so all of a sudden you start having incentives for those folks to look at alternatives to straight landfilling, but you do need those streams to come in there to help regulate costs and have some kind of a baseline, because once you start getting that, then you can really start having a good overall program, so to speak.
Okay, guys, I was just trying to get the conversation started, all right?
Now that we're here at this stage of it, questions get a little bit harder, a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to start off. I got 4. My first question to you is, how many years you got left in your landfill?
Cedar has got 10 plus with the opportunity to expand. We've got adjacent property. West Camden's probably got 18 to 20, right? So between the two, and obviously Cedar would be our preference here because we're closer.
Okay. And then in your previous presentation, you said you'll do whatever the county wanted. So I'm kind of, what I want to get at is, to me, that statement feels like a buffet. You go through a buffet and there's all kind of stuff there, and at the end you got to pay for it all. So I'm kind of saying, what kind of rates are we looking at?
Well, I think...
I'm saying what we're doing is what we're doing right now, which is picking up our stuff from the convenience centers.
Well, and I don't know if it's appropriate, we put a pricing proposal in our submittal, and I don't know if y'all have seen that or not, but it's there, and I'll defer to the chairman, and I don't...
You don't want to say it, you don't want to say it.
Well, I've given you, what we provided ranges of pricing based upon whatever the ask was.
Is that a question that you can answer?
Rates would be to do what?
Just to take our trash from the convenience centers, which is what we're doing now.
I mean,
The question I would be, would that rate be for today or 7 years from now? I mean, that's where it gets kind of tricky.
Sure.
Because, if you'd have told me 2 years ago that inflation would have us 20% in the hole over the last 24 months,
I'm going to say that time, and this is just me,
Yeah.
I'd say that time is anywhere between 3 and 4. So, and that just kind of, really that depends on how this body goes. Y'all do, go ahead.
I mean, y'all want me to go ahead and share pricing? I mean, that's y'all's decision. I can give you some ranges. I'll be glad to.
Yes, please.
I mean, it's already there.
Yeah, for your reference, if you
I've got
don't have it off the top of your head.
No, I've got it.
Okay.
Residential collection, we gave a range of pricing somewhere between $15 to $25 per household. Okay, that was a rural setting. Okay, the next thing that we priced was a MRF. In this, There would be a processing fee of around $98 a ton. There would be a potential rebate of 60 to 70 depending upon the material. So there's a little bit different equation of how that works, how clean the material is and what type it is, okay? Transfer station, we gave a range of $45 to $60 a ton, okay? And that would vary based upon, are you going to give us land? Are you going to run the front scale, right? Can we bring other material in? So they're factors, right? Are there other cities that are participating that drive that push more tons through the building and lower our cost, okay? That would be, and if you show up at our gate, 35 to 50, and I know that's a broad range, but I can't. And to Dwight's point, you know, a year or two out, we can look. Now, I'm not going to suggest to anybody here that our cost structure hasn't changed dramatically in the last 12 to 18 months, just labor alone. It's staggering. But we believe that's going to normalize out. But again, and I know we're all looking at how long that capacity is, but those are today's markets, today's rates when we submitted this back in what, April? Yeah.
So if we agree to do the prices that you're proposing, how long is that good for? Is it going to be CPI, like every year you're going to change it based
Absolutely.
on CPI?
Yeah.
Okay. How much business do y'all do in Murfreesboro, in Rutherford County right now?
Commercial and roll-off, we do some residential up in the Smyrna area. You know, the city does their own here, but we're in Smyrna, Lebanon.
So are you able to tell us how much money you've invested in this county? Have y'all ever invested any money in this county?
Well, I mean,
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, I'm talking about, have y'all like done anything like in support of the county, like any type of, money to charity, money to our businesses, charities, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's some, I can't give you what that number is off the top of my head, but yeah, I know we've supported some schools.
I got
We
two
do a lot
more.
of things for, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I know some of our major contracts in town that we have done some stuff to support them as well.
And that will continue if we do business together. Okay. I want to get into two things. Situation that you're going into right now in Nashville and the permit. Why did that happen?
why did what happen?
Why are you in a lawsuit? I need you to explain to me the situation that's going on in Nashville.
All right, we operate a C&D landfill site, and that site has operated for 25 or 30 years. We disagree with the Metro Solid Waste Board relative. We believe we're grandfathered, and I'm very limited as to what I can say because we're in litigation, but we have a difference of opinion with the Metro Solid Waste Board and Metro, and we're in court, and the court's going to decide. We're either going to win or we're going to lose.
Sure.
It's pretty simple.
But you're confident.
I'm confident that we're going to go to court and the judge is going to decide. I'm old enough and hopefully wise enough to know I can't predict how the court is going to rule, but we're challenging it, and again, it's a unique situation, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, you understand that we do business right now with Republic, and they're going to be in the same situation. So, and my last question to you, we had a company come in here named Waste Away. Have you ever heard of it?
Out of McMinnville?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, why do you not own that?
Well, I don't know why we don't own it. I would let you draw your own business conclusions.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do, because I think the last time we talked, you said if it's a magic box, you would own it.
Well,
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Any other questions? Wayne?
I don't know that this is anything they can answer, or maybe anybody in this room can answer, and I meant to ask it the last time we were together, and I've slept since then. Presently, how many households do we have in Rutherford County? Because I equate household to trash, and if the state says there's a ton of solid waste for every citizen in the state of Tennessee that we produce, how many households do we have in Rutherford County? And maybe how many households do we have in Murfreesboro? And Murfreesboro is charging, Mayor, do you know, is it $5 a month for their pickup presently?
I can answer that. Right now, based on what we did 6 months ago, we think it's approximately around 5,700 households in Rutherford County. I don't know about Murfreesboro, I don't have that information. As what we charge, Murfreesboro charges our citizens $7 a month.
But your number is just Smyrna, Laverne, Eagleville, and Rutherford County proper?
Yes.
Not everybody, but
That might be higher. We got a bunch of apartments come in, so but it could be higher. But that came from Becky Caldwell.
so based on that information, of course, I know it's still tonnage, and if we go into a partnership with Pratt predicts, and we keep using this term robust, but a robust recycling program would lower our carbon footprint here in Rutherford County up to possibly 40%. And then you throw in the C&D purveyor that we're considering as well. That lowers the amount of solid waste that would come through you. And so literally your figures would grow because our actual solid waste would lower. Is that correct?
It's possible. That's why we gave you a range, right? And again, as you go through and look at it, there's some pretty significant work that has to go in to create those collection programs to harvest that material, because you're really talking about changing people's behaviors, and that is not. It's not like you go out, you run a campaign, you get everybody excited. It's a constant change, you know. And again, like I shared, you know, we're picking up over 15,000 houses in Spring Hill. We got 70% participation, and we're generating about 2,000 tons a year.
Well, the smoking cessation started in the schools. Mm-hmm. Children talk to the parents and grandparents, and that's why smoking has of course, it's certainly killed people over the years as well. But I guess I'm trying to picture, you know, with Pratt, with the C&D, you know, and if depending on the decision that TDEC makes, and we have to have someone of your situation to take our solid waste, you know, I guess I would like to see a grand scheme based on those possibilities. I guess you could say that you know, 40% of our solid waste is going to diminish over the years, and the C&D is going to be disposed of in a different way, and everything else you're left with.
Sure. Well, I mean, again, yeah, I would go look at our cost proposal and look at I mean, you've got a range of numbers, and until we get a better handle and more specifics, I mean, we can obviously price it on a sliding scale, but I don't think either one of us have enough information to feel good. You're going to hedge one way, we're going to have to hedge the other, and I'm not sure that there's enough data out there that makes sense. But to your point, right, I mean, the first thing, if I'm sitting where you're sitting and I say, okay, I'm going to commit to a robust recycling program, I'm going to look at all the county facilities that I have control over, right? I'm going to look at all the schools. I'm going to try to go to MTSU, and I'm going to try to build a program out there. And that would kind of be the hub of what I would work towards, right? And then to Dwight's point, because a lot of that would be pure cardboard, right? And that's what Pratt wants, okay? That's what we want. Now, we understand to get that type of quantity and material, because again, these are capital-intensive facilities. Now, if they're just going to put a baler in and bale material and ship it somewhere way far off, then that's one thing. But if they're going to actually build a facility like we have at River Hills, I mean, it's millions and millions of dollars, right? So you're going to have to push material through it to drive your costs down. So single stream tends to give us that level of material. And it's a balancing act, because as you get more material, you get more contamination. So it's a balancing act, and the third piece of that is what is the market paying us for those materials, right? We can manage a little more contamination. So there's some moving parts to that, but understand anybody, any of these facilities, the more tonnage you have, the better your price is going to be, right? I mean, that just goes without saying. So, I mean, again, I don't want to caution you, but I want to say there's a lot of front-end work that has to be done on fractionalizing the waste stream and getting that material to these facilities, okay? And again, keep in mind, you know, Pratt goes out and builds $500 million cardboard plants. I mean, mills. They are big. They're, you know, in the facility you were talking about, they built a massive facility up in Kentucky that they're bringing material into, but it's not a MRF. Now, if they're talking about building a mill here, then that's a whole different ballgame, right? We don't make cardboard.
Yeah, just a MRF.
Yeah. So, but that plant in Kentucky, for example, it's massive. I mean, and it's
over $400 million.
Yeah.
No, it's a
mill.
It's a mill.
They're making, well, and I understood that they were making a pulp and then they were shipping it. I don't understand enough about their business, but very clearly, we're not in. We don't run mills and we don't make cardboard. So they've got a little bit different perspective. Nothing wrong with it, but they're ultimately trying to make cardboard. That's what they want to do.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Blair, I was wrong. It's 2019, we had 115,000 households. 115,000. So that number will probably be a whole lot more with 20 and 21.
Yeah.
So
And is that just in the county?
Rutherford County.
And
whole
are you
county, yes.
So you're counting cities?
Yes.
Okay.
I would think that's. Now, the other thing that I can probably send it to you if you want. I've got some state solid waste reports that show all the tons that are moving around. So I can give you the aggregate number at the back end, right? You can back into your household count. But just remember, like Dwight talked about, right? There's residential waste stream, there's an industrial roll-off waste stream, and then there's a commercial waste stream. And then there'll probably be some special waste. But all of that information is collected by all the disposal facilities. We all have to pay TDEC their surcharge fee of $1.25 a ton, and all that information is there. You can see where all your material, you can see how many total tons, whether it's on your back, our back, Republic's, Waste Connections, whoever. So that number is out there, and they're about a year behind, but I can send you that from TDEC if you want. And then you can look at the tons.
Rob, did you say that River Hill is a MRF?
River Hills is our MRF. It's located up in Nashville. Our largest customer is the city of Nashville, single stream. We also bring other material in. You know better than I do.
We've got commercial single stream routes that run not only down here, but Davidson County, Wilson County, Williamson County, some in Robertson County that we take in there as well. So we've got, not only do we have that single stream MRF, we also have a high-grade MRF, which will take, specific loads of strictly cardboard, strictly white paper, and things like that. And the reason that we have the two is they run different, right? If I bring in a load of pure cardboard, I can run it straight into a baler, bale it, get it ready to ship, the single stream's got to be sorted. So it has to go through the sort line and all the automation and things like that. So we actually have 2 in Nashville, and they're from here to the burger joint.
And how
I mean,
long
they're
has
right
that
together.
facility been up and running, the MRF part?
A long time.
Yeah,
10 years.
we bought River Hills from a company called QRS, which is a family-run company out of Louisville. I don't know who ran the high grade. And like Dwight said, the high grade, I mean, literally, we'll have boxes of high-end paper coming in, right? It's very different. And look, if y'all want to go see a MRF, we'll be glad to set up a tour. We'll get you up to Nashville. You can go look at River Hills.
We've seen a few, but they're all different, it seems like. They're all alike, but they're all different,
Well,
to
they
a certain
are.
degree.
They are.
Because you
and
got the
it's-
tipping floor where there's trash mixed in, and then you've got all just recyclables coming in, and then they split it up on where it goes and everything, but all of it's together. So there's different MRFs that we're looking at and seeing if the interest is there for a 3P partnership right there, and where you want to do it, when we're going to do it, how much it's going to cost, and all the above. What do we do with the little trash that's left over? Is the perfect world.
Well, and again, technology's changing. We've got 2 or 3 kind of high-end robotics MRFs that we've built, and we're kind of trying to prove out and test. But I mean, I think River Hills is I mean, it's a good facility, but it's not. I mean, it's not optics where you see them spitting stuff everywhere. It's and to your point, you're right. You can go. There's a lot of different things out there.
This is more of there are people on the line taking those
Absolutely.
stuffs.
So
And,
you've got both. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
and you speak
and
to
some
River-
robotics too, I
Yeah,
guess.
well, yeah, and there's some automation that's in there, some tumblers and some different things, some magnets. But it's, again, River Hills facility that we purchased, and you're talking 10 years plus technology that's in that facility that we've upgraded.
Yeah.
But you can only upgrade it to a point when you're, dealing with material that way. If you're looking to build a new, you would of course want to look at newer technology than what you had. 10
Heck,
years
it's in Nashville. We need to go look at it. I mean, it's
Well, we'll
30 minutes down the road. We got to look
We'll
at
be
it.
glad, but I mean, again, I don't want to Dwight's point, I don't want to disillusion you. You're not going to walk in there and see robots and stuff like that running.
No,
It's,
you can see a single stream MRF
Yeah.
and get with Paul, and he can probably get some technology and stuff that we did in some of the
Yeah.
high end. We just did one in Chicago. I think it's open now.
yeah, and it's
So-
got the latest, greatest robotics, and it's but again, high end, lots of tons, lots of volume, and we've got to drive material through it.
So to go off of what the mayor was saying and to go off of what the Commissioner Harris was saying, we have 331,000 people. That's what the census says we have, give or take every how many thousand.
Right.
That's 331,000 tons of solid waste that we have a year. If it's 1 ton per person, which they're saying that's what we have. If the county with the cities in it did some where we're protecting the solid waste handlers, the independents, and Rutherford County, all the waste in Rutherford County comes to Rutherford County. That way everybody stays in business, everybody keeps doing what they're doing, but all the waste comes to one spot, wherever that spot is. And then it goes through a MRF, and it goes through the recycling part, and it goes through Pratt or MBL or Rockwood for its portion. Everybody's got a piece of pie that works best for them,
Mm-hmm.
And then, is that enough for waste management to be involved, to be
Sure.
in the ball game and let's play?
Sure. I mean, again, we've just got to have parameters and understanding. I mean, we can come in and manage 1 ton a day. You might not like the price or may not be able to afford it,
Well,
right?
and that's the point too, Mr. Owen. You are doing business right now, from my understanding. You're doing Eagleville's city trash. You're doing Laverne city trash, and you're doing. I'm saying city. I'm talking about city government, and Smyrna city government. So you're doing the Smyrna city government, Laverne city government, and Eagleville city government solid waste.
Yeah, we got some state and federal contracts that do a lot of that, but it's commercial. Yeah, we do have some of that. But, I'll say this, the stuff that's on our trucks and our backs, it's not being dumped in Rutherford County right now. So there's waste that leaves this county every day.
Correct.
Right.
Not only ours, there's others that leave.
I mean,
as
it's
well.
been picked up by y'all. I don't know what I just said. Yeah, but it's, y'all are taking care of it, yeah.
We go back to
contracts, yeah.
we go back to our transfer station. It may be more than 330,000 tons, Steve. But we'll pull it and we'll give you a hard number, right? And it'll be the closest number you're going to get because it's what everybody's paying the tax on. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm telling you, you'll get a really good feel for how many total tons, right? And you can start picking through that and saying, okay, well, we know we manage this much as the county at the convenience centers, right? We know Murfreesboro brings this much to Middle Point, and then you can start seeing the moving parts, right, of where you are. And it may be more than 330, maybe less, I don't know. But we can get that. That's not a hard number to find. Won't be difficult.
Where is your closest transfer station?
Antioch Pike, get off at Harding Place and go right, and you go up to the Sam's and you take a right and you go over the hill and you'll see it on the left.
Yeah, we're here 25, 30 minutes from there.
Yeah.
Is it close enough to handle our trash, or would you want to come here and build a transfer station if we just wanted somebody to move our trash away?
We could do either. I would say long-term, y'all got a tough decision to make, right? And I'm not suggesting one's better than the other. If you're going to get out of the landfill business, given the quantity of the material and the long-term commitment that you've got to service the community, I would suggest building a transfer station to manage that. That's not to say you can't come to Antioch and, we'd love to have you, but I think at the end of the day, if you were going to bring everything for a long period of time, I would build my own building. It just gives you more flexibility, less trucks, less stuff running down the road.
Does your transfer station take it all, C&D and everything, or not?
Pretty much. The majority of what we get is MSW or garbage. We will get some C&D loads. Most of those loads we take to our C&D site, but the majority of it is garbage. It's just household, commercial, roll-off type material.
Do you have a county or a city that you're doing that for now, where you've come in and built a transfer station and you're just relocating their trash away to a landfill?
Yeah, we've got a series of contracts, and we do a little bit of everything. Murray County is an example. We have a company that comes in and hauls it. The county loads it. Williamson County, we provide tractor trailer and we haul it away. Williamson County loads it. Dixon County does. We've got 2 transfer stations of our own in Nashville. Dwight talked about kind of got a hybrid facility up at Rivergate. I'm trying to think. I'm sitting here thinking through. We run a landfill for the city of Johnson City in Johnson City, which of course isn't a transfer station. We've got different facilities. I just have to go through and pull. We got 250 plus transfer stations. So we've done that. Very similar. I used to work for Republic, and I bid interlocal solid waste, those transfer stations. So that's an example, probably similar of what y'all would be looking at.
Can you give me any kind of ballpark price per ton if we done that? You come, built a transfer station, say we furnished the land, you done the rest of it. We brought our trash there, you trucked it away. You have any type of ton price for that? Ballpark?
Yeah, I think in the cost proposal, I think we got somewhere $45 to $60 a ton. You got more tons than what you currently control. That may impact it, right? You give us land, you know, there's other things that would impact our price, that would drive it down or drive it up.
Would the people be allowed to bring their trash in that we did not control for a tipping fee? And then you share that tipping fee or not?
I mean, I think we would certainly look at it. Just from a safety perspective, my suggestion would be that we build a convenience center there, and we try to keep all the homeowners, pickup trucks, passenger vehicles away from commercial loads, because that's how people get hurt. So, yes, to answer your question, we could do that, and we do it other places. We just wouldn't, we would want to separate it purely from just a safety perspective. We don't like having homeowners on the ground around big trucks. It's not good.
So if we woke up in the morning and know where to take our trash, could you handle it in what'd you say, Antioch?
Antioch.
What would it cost a ton?
I mean, our gate rate right now is what, 50-something?
Thank you.
Sure.
And Rob, y'all pulled those numbers off of that total county, city of Murfreesboro numbers, right? That 80,000 tons or something a year, what we're taking to Republic now or whatever, or we're picking up.
Yeah, I think it's all off of your document.
It's our convenience centers, our schools, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's off the RFP that y'all put out. What I'm going to send you is a surcharge report. It's an Excel file. You can sort it and slice it and dice it however you want to.
Canto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I listened to you answer the question, but my question might be repeat from the other. And you mentioned last time, you have about 44,900 employees, in your team. Is that true?
I think we got closer to 50. You mean total?
Right.
After the acquisition radius, it's probably 50.
It's 50+ thousand.
And also you said you have the 40 organic recycling facility in U.S.
Yes, sir. And primarily, there's some stuff up on the East Coast, I think in the Boston area. Then there's some other facilities out on the West Coast. And primarily what they are is anaerobic digesters, where we take organic material. Typically, it's going to be from a food processor. I know we do wet-dry programs at different places, but ideally, we go in and take that food, we grind it up into a slurry, and then we introduce it to the wastewater treatment plants. And what it tends to do into those digesters is, it's like Miracle-Gro. It juices it up and it produces a lot more gas. And so that's what we're trying to do through the process.
Tanya, do you have any questions? Use your mic. Use your mic if you don't mind.
You did state that one of your locations you all pick up in a county. You bring in 2,000 tons a year of recycling, correct?
Well, City of Spring Hill, we pick up their garbage, and then we also pick up their recycling. So it's two separate collections. We pick it up every other week. They got a 95-gallon cart, and it's 15-something thousand, and we know over a year we pick up a little over 2,000 tons of recyclable material independent of the garbage.
Okay, so if you are doing it at a residential setup, from the convenience centers, we accumulate over almost 4,000 tons a year. Could you not offer that service at the centers as well, and what would you charge to haul it?
Well, I mean, we could certainly spot roll-off boxes, which I think is what y'all are doing. I think everything you all have got's manned, isn't it? There are people there all the time. That would be the biggest issue, because what we tend to see on roll-off drop boxes, locations, if they're not manned, is they end up full of garbage. So everything ends up having to be landfilled. But yes, we could certainly look at that, but again, you're probably looking 3 to 5 tons a load, maybe, based on what material we're collecting. And again, not doubting your numbers, I know what we're getting, so I'd like to look at it and see if that makes sense.
Do you have any suggestions for us?
That's what I was going to ask the same question, but only with about 100 more words to it. But thank you, Steve.
You know, at the end of the day, right? And I think y'all are starting to narrow down your options, but you've got to make some tough choices, right? And obviously, I'm sure y'all can appreciate the financial impact of a lot of those decisions that you're going to make. Because now you're not paying for disposal. So anything you do is going to change. I would weigh my options. I'm not here to talk poorly or badly about any other provider. You know, I would look and understand. I guess I would crawl before I walk and walk before I run. I would go out. I would try to understand what a transfer station would cost me. You know, that may mean you build it yourself and you bring in a contract hauler and you go to the market, right? You can do any of those things, but that would be my foundational base of knowing what, you know, worst case, what can I do? To your point, I wake up tomorrow and I got no place to take it. So I would understand where that is, and then I would work my way backwards in terms of what options I have. I mean, in order to fractionalize the material and to get feedstock for a MRF, you're going to have to commit to a very different collection process than is in place right now. That's not a bad thing. I mean, it's just the reality, right? Because whether it's us or Pratt, if we're going to come in, or anybody, if we're going to come in and invest $5, $10, $15, $20 million, whatever that looks like, we've got to have some kind of guarantee of material, right? So to your point, I mean, that's great. You've got 4,000 tons, but we got to have a whole lot more than that to drive one of these big facilities, right? So again, and I don't know if it's Steve or you know, I mean, I would try to bring everything to a central point, and then I would be able to decide and add on to that over time, right? But again, you've got to, tomorrow, you're going to have people show up at your convenience centers that are trying to dump. That's a given, right? Just like at our landfills, there will be trucks there at 5 o'clock ready to go. So, I mean, I would go through that process, and then I would weigh the cost of what you want to do and what level of service you want to provide. And I'm certainly not here to tell you one's better than the other. I mean, it comes down to what type of solution do you want. But again, as you go down that path, I mean, just understand before you're going to have to modify and change some of your collection practices, and you're going to the mayor's, you're going to have the city's participation in some shape, form, or fashion. Okay. But I mean, I don't know if that's a magic bullet, but I would start with a management type facility, and part of that would be a transfer station, part of that would be eventually a MRF, part of that would be C&D. I mean, that's what I would look at, and then I'd try to get a handle on what the collection piece looks like. I mean, I know the city does a great job, right? And they don't do any recycling. Just MSW. But again, I mean, that would kind of be foundationally. And look, you may get a great deal, and it may be hard for you not to accept it. I don't know. That's obviously why all y'all are here.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
On that note, the transfer station, in that scenario you just described, its initial function would simply be receive MSW and start quantifying, or right? And that MSW would have to be transported bulk elsewhere, or start to separate it in some fashion. But it starts with MSW. Would a transfer station receive MSW? That's my basic question.
Yeah. Well, it would be like a break bulk facility for freight, right? Smaller trucks would come in, you would dump it on the floor, push it in.
MSW.
Yes.
Just household, bam, okay.
Yeah. But you could easily modify that, and my suggestion would be, once that you truly understood where you had to get that material, then I would build the facility where you could add on, where you could develop other pieces and components of it. But, I mean, again, whether you're getting 40% reduction or whether you're getting 60%, you're still going to have something that you're going to move off-site, right? I mean, you know, everybody talks about zero waste and 90%, and that's all great and grand, but those are really difficult numbers to get to. But again, I would start from that with a concept of almost a campus-like facility in terms of how you're going to manage it, right? I mean, I wouldn't go out there on a 5-acre piece of property, build a transfer station, and call it good. I mean, I would build it out where over time you could add, and you could look at all these things that you want to build out. All right, and I mean, we can bring our MRF people in, come in, tell you size. I'm sure Pratt can do the same thing, right? The other thing is and I can't give you a tonnage number, and that's something that I owe you, and I'll start digging in and talking to our folks and get an idea range, because that's the question y'all need to be asking, all of us, is how much? How many tons have I got to have? Right.
Okay. Phil, thanks for that question. Let me do a part B to Phil's question. And again, we're just humble little public servants doing this on a volunteer basis, right? You guys are experts, and I appreciate you being here. You have all the knowledge, so I'm going to ask this dumb question. Let's say we build the transfer station, right? And we're taking in municipal waste only. But I don't understand why we wouldn't want to go ahead and prep right away, day one, for peeling off the recyclables, plastics, metals, you name it, and have that be part of the phase one dynamic.
Well, you certainly can. We believe in fractionalizing the material, separating the material as close to the point of generation. So at the end of the day, whether it's us or Pratt or anybody, you're selling a product. You're selling a bale of cardboard, right, or a bale of paper. And what you'll see, City of Montgomery has a facility now where it's a mixed waste, where they bring in a garbage truck, they dump it, they run it through a building, they separate it, they pull, and we've struggled being successful at that, okay? So to your point, I would build something where I understood what the MRF component would be and where it would. We just have not had a lot of success taking raw waste out of a rear loader, for example, or out of one of your compactors, dumping it on the floor, and getting value out of it.
Okay, so I think what you're telling me, and please tell me bluntly if I've got too many rainbows and unicorns dancing in my head, but you're saying that until we see it spread out on the floor, we may not see enough plastics, metals, to make the initial investment to start separating that out and keeping that in a separate pile, or am I going down the right path there?
We would never spread it out on the floor and sort it. What we would do is go back to the point of generation. We would go back to that customer and we would say, customer, we're going to give you 2 carts. we're going to give you a cart for garbage, and we're going to give you a cart for single-stream recycling. And then we're going to ask you to separate it, so when we pick it up, that contamination is going to be hopefully virtually limited.
I'm with you now.
There are people that will do exactly what you're talking about, and we have tried and we have failed. So that's not where we are currently. The technology isn't there to separate it, right? Because and to your point, I think the material is there. You've just got to go in, you've got to educate, you've got to create the collection systems that separate the material and get it in a quality and a quantity that makes sense to process. Okay. So, for example, this facility in Montgomery, literally the truck, to your exact point, the truck comes up, backs it, dumps it on the ground, and they sort it. They have a system where they go in and they sort it out. But again, remember, you're selling a product, okay? You're a manufacturer at that point. You're manufacturing material. And so our preference and what we like to do is to create the collection systems on the front end to fractionalize and keep the material separate and clean. Sure. Does that make?
It does, and then we don't want to, the more you touch it, the more it's going to cost to.
Well, yeah, but
so
I mean, if the material you're touching is worth $100 a ton, you can afford to touch it. If it's not worth $100 a ton, right?
But what you're really telling me is we need to educate the schools, bring in MTSU, whatever, get a good recycling program, educate our people, maybe mandate by city government, state government, do some real mandates on recycling. So get that coming to us separately, already, hopefully clean, not contaminated, and then you set up your next to your MRF a receiving place to where you can package and get it out the door.
For those of y'all that are interested, it may be worth your while to let's go up to River Hills and let's go look at what we're seeing, because you're going to see. I mean, you've been in there more than I have. There's contamination in it. I mean, that's one of the things that we battle. It's one of the things Metro Nashville's battled is contamination, right? And some of it is well-intended contamination, and some of it's just I don't care, right? But to that point, we would try to build out a collection system on the front end that encouraged and truly separated the material and kept it separate. Okay, and then I would suggest. I mean, if it was me, I would want to have everything together, right? And so,
yeah, I mean, not to step on you, but when you look at, again, sorry, but when you look at open market residential, and I know we're talking residential, Rutherford County. Right now, there's no mandate for recycling. There's really no company that offers both. You have to pretty much go get your trash cart or buy your own can for depending on who you're using in the county. You can recycle. There's an independent. There was another. He went out of business, but there's an independent that you've got to go get a completely different company to get recycling picked up. Same thing in the city. The city will give you a cart, and you can get a second cart, but they don't send anybody around to pick up recycling. So I think what we're saying is to get to that point, we're going to have to change the way we're collecting solid waste from residents in Rutherford County and have the cities go along, because you have to have the cities go along as well. Because that's really your open market and your city collection. That's Smyrna, that's Murfreesboro, that's Laverne. Then you go to the open market in the counties where you've got, we pick up some, Republic picks up some, there's independents that pick up solid waste throughout the county, but none of them really offer both. So nobody, typically, I say nobody, there's a fraction that does both, but it's a small number. It's a very small number when you look at a percentage of those 120,000 homes that recycle. I mean, you're probably less than 10,000 would be my guess, and I have no earthly idea. That's a guess. That's not even an educated guess, but again, I live here and I know a lot of people and I travel around, and you just don't see that many people that have that out. So
only through mandatory ordinances through the cities, that type of legislation of forcing the citizens to recycle. All you're doing is kicking the can down the road and just taking everything to the landfill.
I mean, a little bit, but I mean,
and dumping it.
It's one thing to say we're going to mandate, we're going to force. You know, that's very strong, you know.
Well, you try to
and I
encourage
understand
through education.
I understand where we live and where we are. We don't really like force. I mean, just being honest, I don't like you telling me what I have to do. But I think if we offer...
Seeing that with a mask right now.
But if we offer those options, where I'm the city and I'm going to give you a trash cart and I'm going to give you a recycle cart, if you're the city of Murfreesboro, or if you're going to be an open market provider in the county, you must provide both.
Sure.
Now, all of a sudden, there's options, and now it's not that difficult for me to do. Now, I still have an option because, you know, like again, Spring Hill, which is a pretty successful one, it's still 70%. It's not 100% of the people that recycle. We did the same thing in the city of Lewisburg. We probably have a 40-45% participation. They all have the recycle carts. They all have the opportunity to participate because that's what our program is. Right now, there's no program that even offers it. So I kind of like that program more than I'd like we're going to force our citizens in, but you're going to have to change the way we do business in Rutherford County and these cities to make it viable.
We think it's through education, not forcing through legislation.
But if you give people options.
If we can educate, starting in our school systems, properly, kids have once you get buy-in from your kids, they can force their parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles to be more effective. Don't throw that out. Don't go out in the country because the convenience center's closed. Don't go out and throw that trash out, Daddy. You know, don't dump the mattress.
100% agree. But, you know, I go back to Spring Hill. We had the solid waste contract in Spring Hill before they had recycling. All of a sudden, we added the option of recycling and immediately went to 70% participation without a single in-class school education program at all. As soon as we gave them the option, 70% of them opted in.
Wow.
There was an extra, but it was minimal. But yeah, there was an extra charge that went with that because you got 2 trucks. But it's on one bill, it's on one fee. I think that's the problem we've got in our area where we all live is I don't really want another bill. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, it's a process. I have to really want to recycle to go and get another vendor to come to my house to receive another bill and pay another bill. And I think that's what you see. So I just, and that's why I wanted to bring up Spring Hill. As soon as we offered them the cart, literally immediately 70% opted in without any education process other than, hey, you now have an opportunity to recycle and you start running the routes. You know, then you do some communication on the contamination on the end, which you can do at the street level and communicate that way. But it's not, this isn't something you've got to teach people here.
It's a culture change.
That's right.
The culture change in Spring Hill, since I used to represent Murray County, it was probably easier on the Williamson County side than the Murray County side when I had Murray County in my Senate district.
That debate, but yeah.
Right. But it's a culture change because the majority of people, Spring Hill, before GM came here,
that's right.
It was like Brentwood a long time ago. It was just 1,200 homes. But those people moved in from other places where they did recycle, so it was easier to go immediately to that 70%. Yeah. But it's changing the culture, and people have to realize that we have to do something. We can't keep kicking the can down the road and just dumping and covering.
I agree, but I do feel like if you make the options easier for people, that people automatically opt in.
I think the attitude has changed a lot just here in Rutherford County.
Yeah. Right now, it's just not an easy thing for people to do.
And that is correct.
So.
And we're more carrot than stick folks, right? I mean, I think there's other things. There's tiered rate systems. There's things you can do to encourage participation versus mandating, right? I mean, you can create a financial incentive to do it. And you know, right or wrong, we're the largest company in the United States, and we got a lot of experience. We've done a lot of good things, and we've made some mistakes, right? So we've learned, and that's kind of the value of one of the values we see of us, right? Is that we've got, you know, and we've got. The further we get to the West Coast, the more you will see a much different philosophy relative to how it's managed and what it is. And not that it's better or worse, it's just we got a pretty big breadth and, you know, but again, I think you can do it through rates, some of the things Dwight said, right? You got to make it easy, and then we've developed some technology, cameras in trucks where we can actually look and spot contamination literally at a household level. So it's some pretty cool stuff we're just rolling out with. I know Dwight deals with it more than I do from a commercial perspective, but there's some things we think that are really going to move the needle long-term in terms of keeping the material
I don't think you
clean.
need to mandate it, because neighbors sometimes shame your other neighbor into doing it if you're not participating.
Two deliverables I think we want from you is you've talked about a list or the tonnage list or the breakdown. If you'll send that to Steve, if you've got Steve's contact information. And also too, if you want to pitch out a couple of dates for the tour of the MRF, send that and then we'll blast that out. And Susan, I'll make sure when I get a copy, we'll send a copy out to you, because we'd certainly invite public and anybody to that as well. Any other questions for Waste Management? Don, I'm gonna make you say something.
I brought some cards. I did bring some cards this time. I did think about it, and that's,
Okay.
My cell number's on here. Again, I'm local. I'll be glad to
Okay.
have a conversation with anybody anytime, anywhere. So I want to leave these
Great.
just in case
I'll-
anybody there wants to.
Tonnage report and dates
Yeah.
for, call Paul.
Oh, guys, I'm gonna put these up here. Okay, all right, perfect. Okay, so Don, give us 10 seconds on why we need to do business with Waste Management.
Her job depends on it. No.
I wouldn't put you through that. Yes. You want to wrap up? You want to
Look,
final
we're
thoughts?
just, we've enjoyed the process, and again, I've lived here, I've been part of this community. It was many years ago, and you know, it's been enjoyable, and whatever we can do to help and support you, we'll be glad to. I know you got some tough decisions. I know there's some pretty significant financial decisions, and we understand that, and if we can help, we'd love to help. If we're part of the solution, great. If not, if we can help you get there, that's fine too. Whatever we can do, and you know, old relationships die hard. So
Yeah, that's right.
it's
Thank you, Rob.
it's been great.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate the 100 miles of hate this week. We're going to beat Western.
Yes, sir. Go blue.
That's right.
It is, it's tough. We got it though.
Anyhow.
All right, gang, that finishes our last technology review. So let me offer this suggestion. Between now and our next regular Public Works meeting, which will be the 1st of November, be thinking about what our next move should be. And my thought would be that we now take the list that we have, the list of interviewees, our RFPs, and maybe now shorten that list. So be thinking about, go through your notes, weigh what you've learned, and let's see if we can get down to 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever that magic number is. But let's discuss that at our next meeting. And then certainly the mayor, perhaps myself, others would need to sit down with the cities, the 4 cities, and have a Speak American and find out who's in, who's out. Now's the time. They're going to have to decide, because we cannot go any farther with these technologies without their thumbs up or thumbs down. That's become very evident and very clear, in my opinion.
Do you want to set a goal and maybe at our next meeting eliminate one? Since we have 5?
Yeah.
Cut it to
yes.
4? If
Yeah,
you
we should at
feel,
least-
if you
we
feel
should
comfortable in doing that.
Yeah, we should at least eliminate one.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that may be the easier way to fillet the fish there.
I was just going to ask how we were going to move on to that process. Were we just going to, that I have my opinion as to what is our best movement forward, and I would share that and basically see where everybody is and see if we could come,
Yeah.
find some common ground.
We need to have an open discussion. I'm not going to come up here and right away say, we're going to take a vote, and like we do in steering, and majority wins. I don't think that's the right way to do this. We need to have an open discussion, voice our pros and cons, and just at that point in time, we'll just figure out where our strengths and our weaknesses are for what our specific goals are and what we think is the best way to partner.
Would it be a good use, would we use, if we had one more meeting of just this committee, no guests, open meeting, but no
Yeah.
speakers, would it be a good use of our time to have that discussion outside of the next Public Works agenda?
I'm fine with that.
Or do we add this conversation and let that meeting go?
Yeah.
You think it would be a good use of our time to have an independent? I kind of do too, that,
Okay.
because I want to know what you guys and ladies, what is your bigger vision? I'm so lost in what's a good decision here. We spend a boatload of money or we keep burying trash, one or the other. So
Yeah.
I don't see the middle ground. I'm struggling with that. I need y'all's advice without anybody else speaking into it. So I ask for another meeting.
Or two.
At least let's just have, I want to know what y'all are thinking, because obviously we don't talk outside of this room, so I don't know what is the grand vision that Wayne has or Shanto.
Well, and I think, and let's, that's a very intelligent idea. And I think based on that discussion, then we'll automatically gravitate to where we think the right technologies are. So the lesser of the partner may become evident, or partners would become evident. So, Rachel, sorry, do you have a calendar in front of you? So, maybe, do you think even one meeting is enough? Do you think, we'll go ahead and pencil one down, and if we need another one, we'll schedule another one.
One will be a good start, and you may want to postpone eliminating the one till the actual Public Works meeting.
Yeah.
Once we've had this discussion, and then people can
Right.
think it over after they go home.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't think we cut anybody at this next open discussion.
Mr. Chairman, would you like, I think they'll work with us on River Hill, going and looking at that at any time. I would like, before we close, not to interrupt y'all's conversation there, but what works best for y'all? Early in the week, later in the week, midday, afternoon, early in the morning, what works best to get this committee, bless you, to go as a whole, at least this committee, down to look at River Hill? And any other commissioners, of course, I would think you would want to go with you.
What time of day is good for you, Steve?
Somewhere between 9 and 1, through the week. I'm good all day on Saturday, but other people may not be. But I'd love to go, if we can schedule.
Well, and that brings up a point. I mean, we could see it on a Saturday, but if it's not running, we want to see it running. But I can check on that and see if it's running Saturday. May do a Saturday, but otherwise, in the morning, say 9 o'clock to leave, and give us, it's just Nashville's. Right. This committee, and open it up to any other commissioners that want to go? Okay. I'll try to get us a time and date then and get it back with you, and we'll email everybody and see if it's good.
All right. Rachel has said October 12th and October 27th. Oh, I'm sorry, well, yeah, sure. The 20th or the 27th would be the next open dates on, for our discussion meeting. And I'm okay with either one of those at 5:30. Mayor's out the 20th, okay. What about the 27th for you gentlemen? Okay, let's.
We'll just have to check that if, Steve, if you could check with Craig and Robert. Is Robert missing? Not Robert part of this?
Robert has got a couple more days
Oh,
left
that's,
on his
yeah, that's right. So
quarantine.
we would want the full, I would hope we would, everybody needs
Yes.
to be here.
Yeah. Let's pencil in the 27th, and if you will send that to Craig and Robert and see if they're available those 2 dates. If not, we'll have to shoot for early November. Okay, we're all in consensus, we don't want to have that discussion at a regular meeting. Okay, all right. We can set a, if we can't mark the 27th, we will set a meeting, a subcommittee meeting on our Public Works meeting night. Does that sound fair? All right. Tanya, thanks for showing up tonight. And gentlemen, thank you. So again, now's the time to go through your notes and refresh, ask questions, and we're making progress. We've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. Yeah, 2 years worth. So anyway, thank you all. Appreciate it. Meeting adjourned. Anything?